Hello. Today we will be going over Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development. Let's begin by providing some background on the theory's creator. William Perry Jr. was born in 1913 in Paris, France. He attained his bachelor's in Greek and English in 1935 from Harvard and also obtained his master's in English in 1940. His father, William Perry Sr., was a famous architect that designed Harvard's Houghton Rare Book Library. Between 1935 and 1940, William Perry Jr. taught English and history at the Rivers School for Boys. During World War II, Perry Jr. instructed Navy pilots on celestial navigation. In 1947, Perry founded the Bureau of Study Council at Harvard College, which counseled and tutored 400-plus students. This experience helped serve as inspiration for the themes and frameworks of the theory. Perry has written manuscripts in the Norton Anthology of American Literature, and in 1950 he co-wrote the translation of the Iliad of Homer. Now into the background of the theory itself. Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development is a cognitive structural theory created in the 1960s through 70s. Perry's theory is regarded as the first big theory in student affairs regarding intellectual development. Perry's theory was influenced by psychologists Jean Piaget and Lawrence Kohlberg. Perry's original study was conducted in the 1950s and 1960s. In the 1950s, 98 longitudinal studies were conducted with 31 students. 17 complete 4-year reports were created. In the 1960s, 366 longitudinal studies were created with 109 students. 67 complete 4-year reports were created from these studies. These interviews were conducted at Harvard University. Students at Radcliffe College, a women's college, were also interviewed, but only the responses of white male students were used to validate the theory. Through the use of open-ended interviews, students were asked to make meaning of their educational experiences. Perry published his findings in the monograph Forms of Ethical and Intellectual Development in the College Years, a Scheme, in the year 1970. In his findings, Perry found that students go through 9 positions throughout their intellectual and ethical development throughout their higher education experience. Perry chose to use the word positions rather than levels or stages. This is because the term position allows a person to not get caught at one level. Instead, it gives each individual the possibility to move independently from one thinking position to another. These 9 stages are basic duality, full dualism, early multiplicity, late multiplicity, contextual relativism, pre-commitment, commitment, challenges to commitment, and post-commitment. These 9 positions are typically broken down into 4 primary positions: dualism, multiplicity, relativism, and commitment. Perry claims that college students journey through each of the positions with respect to intellectual and moral development. These positions can be characterized in terms of the student's attitude towards knowledge. Positions are said to be static, which is different from stage in that development occurs between each of the positions. Each main concept also represents fundamental differences in the thought process that students have during each of the positions. In the first primary position, dualism, students view knowledge as received and is not questioned. Students also feel that there is a correct answer to be learned. During dualism, there are right and wrong answers, and authorities possess all of those answers. During dualism, students strive to learn the right solutions and ignore all other perspectives. Learning is simply about taking notes and memorizing answers. Within dualism, there are 2 positions that students can be. In the first position, basic duality, all problems are solvable, and therefore the student's task is to learn the right solutions. In the second stage, full dualism, some authorities agree while others disagree. Therefore, at this position, the student's task is to learn the right solution and ignore the others. In the second primary position, multiplicity, students believe that there may be more than one solution to a problem, or there may be no solution at all. And in this phase, students recognize that their opinions matter. Students begin to recognize that there are conflicting answers and begin to honor diverse views. During this position, students view all opinions as equally valued and believe that everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. In the third primary position, relativism, students view knowledge as contextual, and students evaluate viewpoints based on sources and evidence, and even experts are subject to scrutiny. During this position, all opinions do not appear to be equally valid anymore. Students begin to acknowledge that some opinions have little value while others may have more. Knowledge begins to be based on evidence and supporting arguments, and students begin to analyze the authorities. In the final primary stage, commitment, students begin to integrate knowledge from other sources with their own personal experience. Students also learn to take responsibility for their committed beliefs. It is during this position that a shift begins to take place from cognitive to ethical development. Students begin to make choices, decisions, and affirmations through relativism view. This means that students will begin to take a position backed by context. Throughout students' journey through these four primary positions, deflections can take place, which are ways that cognitive development are delayed. These three deflections are known as temporizing, escape, and retreat. During temporizing, students take what is known as a time-out period. An example of this is a student deciding to take a semester off to rethink their life. The second example, known as escape, is otherwise known as an abandonment of responsibility. An example of this can be a student dropping out of college completely. The third and final deflection is known as retreat, which is a temporary return to dualism. An example of this is a student turning to an authority figure for help. Some implications and things to keep in mind with Perry's theory are many students may be coming into college with a dualistic view. For many students, college is a new environment, and they may be coming in looking for guidance from authorities. Each of them also has had their own unique high school experiences, meaning each may be coming in at a different position. Another implication is that one can be at different positions at the same time. For example, having different knowledge in different course subjects. When students enter college, student affairs professionals become a source for students, and you may be viewed as an authority figure. While your opinion may not be absolute, it is involved in the process of students' development. As a student affairs professional, you can help students discover new knowledge. Finally, it is important to recognize that there are many factors that can lead to deflections for students. This can be inside of the classroom or outside of the classroom, where student affairs professionals can step in. You may be asking yourself, why is Perry's theory important for student affairs? The first reason is that this theory can help student affairs professionals teach in new ways that help students learn. This can be done through understanding where students are and why they think the way that they do. This knowledge can help with cognitive progression and help students truly learn. The second reason is creating and evaluating programs that help students persist in college. Knowing how students develop intellectually and ethically can help create programs that meet them where they are at. Lastly, it is important to understand how this theory affects other student groups and any potential differences in intellectual or ethical development. This knowledge can help student affairs professionals make sure that all students are growing intellectually and ethically, despite any differences they may have. To summarize Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development, on your screen now is a visual representation of the theory. This visual representation includes all 9 positions and how they fit in with the 4 primary positions of the theory. It also represents the development cycle that occurs throughout each position. We hope you have enjoyed this video on Perry's theory of intellectual and ethical development, and that this has helped you with your understanding of it. Thank you for watching.